No, I didn't hear any music. I'm gonna watch it later. I'll watch. I promise.
No, you won't. No, you won't.
They're
Your
gonna show up.
promises.
They're gonna show up on the
No.
Mariah Carey special.
Your promises
I
are
will-
worth nothing.
What's up, Jesse? What's up, Lewis?
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Oh,
Rob.
John, do you understand how cold it is outside? I actually switched sweaters for the show tonight. I was wearing a cardigan. And I had my old man slippers on today while I was working, John. So,
Oh, that's cold. Yeah. When you're like, yo, I gotta wear socks and slippers.
yeah, and a cardigan.
That's a cold day. Yeah, cardigan. Yeah. What defines a cardigan versus a sweater?
I think it's a style of sweater. It's like a button up. It's a wool button up sweater.
So it has to be a button up.
Yes.
It can't be a pullover or a zip up. It has to be a button up.
Because those two, you just call them pullovers and zip ups.
Hey, maybe.
Oh
What's
boy,
up,
oh boy. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, John.
We've got a whole lot of Spider-Man to cover. And last time we ran short and we only had 2 terrible movies to deal with. Now we've got 2 maybe better movies plus a couple appearances in other MCU movies and whatever hype train we want to start for the new Spider-Man movie. So I guess should we get rolling, Rob? Thank you everybody in the chat. What's up, people? Yeah, it looks like everybody's on board with you wearing their hoodies and slippers. Shout outs to Roots. I never really appreciated Roots until the pandemic hit and I just started getting a whole bunch of pants and stuff. But yeah, man, you'd see those people decked head to toe in Roots and I'd be like, yeah, I guess they're really proud to be Canadian or whatever. But yeah, man, lounging around the house in full out Roots gear, can't complain. So yeah, I'm looking forward to their sales coming for the holidays. So Rob, I guess I'll go through some new releases at the store. Do you want to look at some more expensive statues and stuff with me?
Oh, you know how much I love this because it's actually torturous that I
think it's fun. I hope you guys like it. It seems to fit in with the theming of a lot of the stuff we do cover here in the Sidekick Show, as well as the Heroes World podcast and other numerous things. So I figured it'd be fun to at least do for now. If you guys are digging it, let me know. If you're not digging it, let me know as well. And what else you want to hear about. So if you're not following us on the Instagram, Facebook, new release comics were posted this Monday. Try to get them up first thing in the morning. So all the new releases that we are getting, not necessarily everything that's coming out. Because only so much money to go around. We can only bring in so many things. Big title coming in this week, Dark Knights of Steel book 2 or issue 2. One of my favorite books right now, which is basically a reimagining of the DC universe in a medieval setting. And it's got Batman, Superman, all kinds of fun stuff. I think Wonder Woman is on the cover of issue 3, so I'm looking forward to that. What's up, Gordon? What's up, Sarah? So I'll get the wave in. What's up, Gord? So let's delve into some expensive stuff and hope it'll be fun. Should we play a little game, Rob? Do you want to guess the prices on these things as I bring them up, or?
Okay, but do I get to win one at the end of the game?
Let's see how close you get. We'll do like prices right style. So
sure.
So maybe we'll.
All right.
Maybe we'll do that, and or maybe if you guys guess it right, I'll give you a good healthy discount on.
Come on, sideshow statue for free. All right.
Oh man, imagine that. One day, folks, we're gonna get there. Help us get there. We're almost at 1.5K subs, so let's keep it going up, and then maybe we can give away some statues and cars and whatnot. I don't know how those other channels do it, but. Let's rock and roll. So the first thing on the docket, I don't know if you're going to recognize this or not, Rob. So anyone in the chat, if you guys recognize this,
Gord, you dummy.
Yeah, I almost did because I'm looking at Gord over here. His nice little pretty face on the screen with a little bit of Sarah in there too as well. So yeah, this one here. Oh, I wrote it on there. Kaya Sarah. She is from League of Legends, the new Arcane anime. I haven't watched the show, so I don't know if she appears in the show. So if anyone has been watching, please let us know. But this is a statue from a company called Pure Arts. It is 1/4 scale, so it's a big one. So Rob, what do you think the retail on one of these things is?
I'm not familiar with this company. It's a 1/4 scale. I'm gonna.
I'll give you a clue. It's in the realm of more than you can afford, pal. We're talking Fast and
so
Furious.
It's over $100. No, I would say a 1/4 scale. $975.
Oh, you're close. You're close. This is around $1,000 Canadian, and I'm quoting prices in Canadian, folks. We are a Canadian show, so do the math if you are in the US of A. And again, if you are interested in any of these products, hit me up, and we can iron out the details, release dates, deposits, final price, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are watching the show, yeah, look at Fraser and Lewis kind of like hit both ends of the spectrum here, so 812. But yeah, this is one of those big pieces. You can see it's got an alternate head there. It looks really good. So I'm looking forward to catching up on this show during the holidays. I know a lot of people have been raving about it, and I've been recommended it various amounts of times. So let's see what I got next. So that's another close-up. Yeah, so 1/4 scale. Looks really pretty.
Yeah, it does. Looks good.
Yeah. All right, this thing here. I don't know if you can guess what this thing is. It's called a Scarbro Fair, and it's a prop replica from a video game called Bayonetta, and it is a life-size, basically, weapon that this character uses. And there are 4 different styles. They are named after spices. So one is called parsley, one is called sage, one is called rosemary, and one's called thyme. What is your favorite spice, Rob?
The stuff from the planet Araxis.
No, sorry. The correct answer was one of the Spice Girls. That was insert Spice Girls
for
joke
sure,
right there.
Ginger Spice, because she was just so dirty. I loved it.
So
Scarbro Fair. Now is this done?
Figure, yeah.
Now is this done by Paul Simon? And Art Garfunkel? Is this the?
No,
is this
that would be cool. Okay. Yeah, she's a rich girl. But it is a prop replica, so keep in mind that this is life size. The different spices or variants of the gun dictate the color of that gem in the middle there. I don't know if you can see it. It's white right now. Yeah. And then the little chain dangling from the bottom also changes in the game. So if you guys are playing Bayonetta, which I've heard is a fantastic game, I really want to check it out one day. Do you have a guess?
Is it life size? Like, is it?
Yeah, full size prop replica. Full size
prop replica. 749.
Okay, a little high. It's around 500. I guess this company is maybe using. I think it's resin, maybe. So
okay,
maybe,
so like
maybe you were thinking it was metal. Yeah, maybe you were thinking it was metal.
Well, actually, I thought it might be like a polystone, to be honest with you. So
yeah, maybe, all right, yeah. But it's cool that they're making things for this game.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's pretty cool. And shout outs to anyone who wants to get all 4 of them with only slight variations on each one. So it's cool. You know, cosplay rules the world right now. So why not? So speaking of more cosplay, we have another life-size replica here. I don't know if you recognize where it's from, Rob.
I want to say Aliens.
Yes, that is the pulse rifle from Aliens, also known as Brown Bess. I don't remember them ever calling it that, but maybe I missed that part.
I don't think so.
I don't know if you remember in the movie, they really made like very detailed. They would call them hero weapons that have the full detail. This is a very famous gun with the counter on the side that would run down their ammo. And alleged or supposedly these things, the hero version of it, the one that really was good for the good close-ups and stuff, that thing weighed 20 pounds apparently.
Wow.
Can you imagine carrying around this 20-pound prop gun and trying to like look like a badass? Like, I don't know, 20s on your curls and stuff. It gets a little hefty, but if you're gonna have to hold it in one position for a long extended period of time, that's crazy. So this is a prop replica. It's based off of, they apparently got one of the guns and made a mold of it, and so it's very accurate. There's multiple versions. There's a weathered version, so if you want it to look a little kind of beat up, which I actually think it does look better this way. I don't know, how do you feel about how this looks?
I'm just kind of surprised at the brown, to be honest with you. Like the tan, it's surprising. Like I don't remember it being that color. I thought it was more like a green, like a darker green in the movie, like a weathered green. But yeah, it looks cool. I mean, knowing that it's it's a replica of the Aliens movie, it's cool.
This is made by a company called Hollywood Collectibles. Okay. So they do make a lot of
1075.
Not bad. You're in the neighborhood. It's about 800 Canadian. So I don't believe it functions. That's the main problem. I don't know.
Obviously, it's a prop replica.
No, but like I don't know if the slide moves and the triggers and all that kind of stuff. It might literally just be a thing that kind of sits on your desk.
Well, the counter keeps changing, so obviously the counter works in some capacity.
Yeah, well, this one says 95 all around, but it might just be for the pictures. There is also a Nerf gun replica. I guess maybe they just licensed this gun out finally. I remember Custom Mine did bring by the airsoft version of this gun, and it was hella incredible. At that time, it was around $600. I'd imagine it's worth a lot more money now, and it is probably, like mentioned in the chat, it is probably banned right now. So a lot of airsoft weapons and things like that are coming under fire. So, my heart goes out to those hobbyists, but maybe there's a reason why these things are happening. But it does kind of suck. You can't have your toys because a couple people are ruining it. So let's see the next thing here. Hey, look at it's your boy. Is it your boy, or is regular Spock your boy? This is Mirror Universe Spock. Spock. Yes.
Spock. Yeah.
From a company called XO6. I for some reason I said it and it came out kind of funny, so I wasn't sure if I said it wrong. I'm like, did I say Sprock?
All right.
But this is a 1/6 scale figure made by a company that is not Hot Toys. So keep that in mind when you guys are kind of looking at this one here. But it does look pretty good. Whoops. Let's go to Knightcrawler.
I felt like we showcased something, or you showcased another figure from this company 2 weeks ago, didn't you?
Another not Hot Toys company.
Okay.
I believe this company seems to have the license for, I think, a lot of these Star Trek
okay, cool.
figures. Yeah.
Are you asking me what I think the price is going to be on this one?
Yeah, if you want. I don't know
sure. I'll tell you. I'm going to say, based on a hot, I'm going to say $475.
No.
$325.
No, this guy's only about $200.
Oh wow! All right.
He is looks like he's mostly cloth materials. He doesn't have. If we were talking like an Iron Man or a RoboCop with metal parts, yeah, you're looking in the neighborhood of $600.
Okay.
Or like a Spider-Man with all the extra base and arms.
Yep.
Yeah, that's around $400. But this guy's a modest $200. Still a little bit pricey, but if you're a Star Trek fan, I don't know if they're going to do all the guys from Mirror Universe. What do you think of the resemblance? Do you think this is supposed to be Leonard Nimoy or the other?
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's definitely Leonard Nimoy. I think it looks good. I think for what it is, I think it looks good. Listen, you know what? There are a lot of people who love the original Star Trek, and for this price point, I think it'd be pretty cool for them to just display it over their television somewhere or whatever on their desk. So
yeah. Well, who would have thought, if you're a Star Trek fan, who would have thought they would have made a Mirror Universe Spock in a higher end collectible? So I think that's cool for all you guys who are fans. And then we're gonna go to our in-house Star Trek fans. And so Lewis says he's a fan of Star Trek but not a fan of these figures. Fair enough. And Fraser said the face looks pretty good. So yeah, I think that does make me think Leonard Nimoy. I guess in his younger days.
Well, obviously it was from the Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
I'm like the damn 60s, man. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Shout out to the bull cut. I wonder if it's making a comeback nowadays with COVID cuts going on. Let's keep it moving, folks. Let's see what's next here. So Knightcrawler. This is the Sideshow premium format statue.
Okay.
So this is more traditional. You kind of have seen things like these. So 1/4 scale. These are usually pretty nice. Come with some extra accessories, sometimes an interchangeable head. They didn't picture any for this. Maybe they're going to announce them later. But pretty simple statue, straightforward. Is Knightcrawler your favorite X-Men, Rob?
No, he's not. But I will say I really couldn't care about Knightcrawler when I was reading comics. But what I thought from X-Men 2, that the White House scene, the bamfing in and out was awesome, and I became a big fan of his. Fraser's gonna go with 1001. I was gonna say it's funny with Sideshow. We don't know if there's any switch outs. So 1/4 scale Knightcrawler.
It looks like it's plain Jane. It doesn't have any lights or anything like that.
So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go back out to my 975.
Yeah, and I'd say pretty close, like around 800 in change Canadian. Yeah. Pretty straightforward statue. So I think that's pretty cool. I feel like they haven't done a lot of these lately, so it's kind of neat that they're going back to their comic book roots, and they've been doing a lot of movie and video game stuff. So let's jump onto this guy here. Our boy.
Oh boy.
Brandon Lee the Crow. So this is again not a Hot Toys. This is a Sideshow Collectibles 1/6 scale.
Wow.
So it will be I will give you a hint that will be a little bit more on the semi-affordable side. So it looks pretty good. Comes with a sword, shotgun, multiple weapons, the revolver here, multiple hands, and a crow. No guitar though. I question
that's really weird.
Guitar.
Yeah, that is weird because that's his signature thing. I really like this. I'm thinking 580 to 600.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll be pleasantly surprised that this guy will only cost you about $300 Canadian.
No kidding.
So not bad. Hot Toys, I think, did do Brandon Lee the Crow. I know I didn't get a close up of it, but do you think that looks pretty good? I think that looks pretty good. He's wearing makeup.
I think it's mixed media. Yeah. I mean, he's got the leather jacket and stuff. I do agree with you though. The lack of guitar is bizarre.
yeah. You figured they would put a guitar or I don't know what else you could put on there, but maybe they just didn't feel like doing a guitar for this one.
What's he got on his right shoulder? Oh, maybe it's just the lapel.
I think it's the jacket. Yeah.
I wonder if you could take that jacket off because he doesn't really wear the jacket very much in the movie.
Yeah, if you go back here,
that's true. Yeah. There you go.
Pretty much these guys in the cloth outfits, they can be removed. Sometimes it takes some doing. So you'll see a lot of customizers, and if you're handy with the sewing machine and have really tiny hands or something, then you can just definitely start doing some customization.
That's true. Yes.
I think he does look better without the jacket in this particular instance.
Because for me, with the jacket, he looks like Sting from like 90s wrestling.
The problem is, when you start scaling down clothing and stuff like that, it doesn't hang. Like, real clothing has weight to it and things like that. So just a couple more folks, and here's your boy, the Flash, from a company called Tweeterhead.
Yeah, they make some really good statues.
Yeah. The detail is really good. The paint apps, they've done a bunch of like Linda Carter, Wonder Woman stuff that looked incredible. So he's only 1/6 scale, but he is a very detailed piece. So I'll give you a hint that he is a little bit on the higher end for a 1/6 scale. So 1/6 scale would be in scale with a Hot Toys or a doll.
Yeah. So I'm going to say 600 for this one.
Yeah. Oh man, bang! Right on the money. We have a winner. 600.
Yes! I get that.
No, I will give you 6% off.
6%.
Oh yeah. So some guys, everyone's got kind of like, so look at this. I'm training everybody. Maybe everyone can help me and be my buyers. And we'll kind of get everyone experienced in pricing these types of things out. But it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
I like the sneak preview of what's coming next. But look at that newspaper like flying in the
Tweeterhead's been doing a lot of really cool statues. They had a really cool Batman line. They did a Super Friends line with like the OG Robin with like the wingtip boots and all that stuff. Like their stuff is really detailed looking. So they're quite nice.
Yeah. Shout out to Gordy saying that Flash is quite ripped, and yes, I don't know if that is an accurate runner's body, but he's looking pretty jacked.
The Ben Johnson body. It was all ripped at the top.
Well, that guy's huge. Yeah. It looks good. Like if we got a costume like that in the movies.
Well, but I like the look at where his fingers are.
Yeah.
The stretching of the suit, right? Like you can see, it's that type of detail that really makes these type of statues like just pop, right? So
yeah.
All
right. The last item is kind of for creases in the suit. Don't get dirty. So the last item is kind of like more of a funny item. So Sideshow actually does these great art prints. So if you are a BTS fan, they have got this new art print coming out. I know Rob's
get out.
Rob's shaking his head. I'm definitely. I think we should put this on your Christmas list next year, as well as some tickets to whenever their concert shows up over here again, which was a big deal. And
they're taking a break. I think they're taking a break.
Oh, you read. Okay, so in your fan club newsletter, you read that they're taking a break and ticket sales are on hold for a hot second. So BTS, everyone in the comments, shout out your favorite BTS song, by the way, because I don't know if Rob even has one on deck. No. So this is an art print. This is a Gleesy art print available in an 18x24 or 12x6. So do you want to guess how much money you save by losing 6 inches? Okay, how much do you think the big? Well, you know what?
I don't know if I really want to answer that, John.
All right, so the bigger print, which is 18x24, is going to cost you $120. The answer to if you lose 6 inches on each side, it's only $65, so you save about half. So that may or may not be a bargain. Rob, did you have a favorite BTS song?
No, I don't know any of their music, John.
You don't know any of their music? Is your daughter not a dancer?
She is, but she doesn't dance to any of this stuff.
No, it's all over here now, though.
Sometimes I wish, I wish I had like a fish that could just smack you in the head with. Like,
okay, when the technology arrives, we will add extendable boxing gloves in each of our stations. So one for you,
right.
Rob, one
push
for
a
me.
button.
And we will have a one per show button that either of us can push, and a boxing glove will come out of nowhere, Jackass style, and just floor one of us, and we'll see who hits it first. I feel like Sarah is lying because I feel like she knows Butter or Permission to Dance or maybe the Steve Aoki collab. But yeah, Fraser's not wrong. Anyways, that was some fun. Thank you everyone for joining me in that ridiculousness. If you're interested in any of those things, hit me up. We can iron out the details. If you guys all want to chip in and get that BTS print for Rob, we'll talk and honestly, get it set up.
I don't think so. Thanks, John. Hey, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us. We have a lot of comments in here. Thanks to all of you who are here live, and if you're listening to us afterwards, whether you're at the gym on your way to work or maybe you're in the crapper and you just need something to do because you don't like the quietness in your house, we appreciate you. If you haven't had a chance to check out the YouTube channel, definitely go ahead and do that. The Heroes World podcast dropped yesterday, which was Sunday, with myself, this goofball over here, John, and Stu Pei. We talked about Hawkeye episode 3, and then we discussed some of our favorite Christmas suggestions, whether it was movies, television show, and things that you can purchase as gifts for your loved ones in this holiday season, and also happen to be stuff that you can get from the store. As well, definitely check out, keep the notification bell lit. Subscribe to the channel. You're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff. You have TGIF with Andre and our friend Jesse. I think Jesse is still in the chat, so you guys are doing a great job. So check that out. Notification bell, because we do trailer drops and we do some releases and things are coming out. It's the end of the year, and you'll start to see a lot more stuff happening. So big thank you to all of you. And John, big thanks to you, man, for everything that you're doing. But we're going to jump into the news, John, because we got a lot to talk about with Spider-Man, the MCU version of Spider-Man. And actually, weirdly enough, most of my news for tonight is kind of Spider-Man related. Here's my tablet, so I'm just going to put that right here. If I don't have to see John's face, that'd be great.
I don't use paper. I use a tablet.
But first, we're going to start with some news that came out this afternoon, John. Actually, a bunch more news came out this evening, and if I don't mention it, guys and girls, just because I just didn't have time to go back into it, because some stuff came out after 5. But this afternoon,
check his sources,
right? I wanted to make sure I wasn't exactly following down a rabbit hole of shit. So this afternoon, we got news that Shang-Chi is getting a sequel, John. Original director Destin Daniel Cretton is coming back to direct the sequel. He also signed an overall deal with Marvel and Disney to create some Disney Plus shows. So this is great news. Shang-Chi is coming back. It was well received. I'm excited to see where this sequel goes. I know that Simu Liu tweeted out the news and goes, wow. And I'm kind of paraphrasing because I can't remember exact words he said, but essentially not bad for a movie that bombed. So kind of making fun of the fact that people were like, oh, this is going to be a bullshit movie. It's not going to make any money. It made tons of cash and is getting a sequel. So big congratulations to them over there. John, are you excited to see a new Shang-Chi?
Yeah, I'm definitely up for a follow-up to that one. It was a lot of fun, and I'm curious as to see what type of TV projects could be in the works as well.
Well, we know Ryan Coogler is doing stuff with like the with Wakanda, right? The outside stuff of Wakanda. So maybe there's going to be a lot more of what we see with Shang-Chi's sister and everything else that's going on, right? So
the Underground Fight Club. I could watch a show based on that alone. Traveling into the past and what he was doing, like during those 15 years or whatever that he was.
Well, and don't forget, she's now the leader of the 10 Rings, right? Like the actual the terrorist group, right? So we'll see what happens. Did I spoil that? Oh well. You know what else broke out today, John?
No one knew what I was talking about.
Kevin Feige has confirmed that if Daredevil is set to return to the MCU, that character will once again be played by Charlie Cox, who started the role for 3 seasons in the Netflix series. John, what are your thoughts on Feige making this announcement? Are you happy to see Charlie Cox?
He said maybe, or if
so what he said,
showing up.
Yeah, so what he said essentially
so he didn't straight up say it.
What he said, we'll see about when we see Daredevil next. Like he said the word see 3 times, which I thought was a really weird way for a character that's blind. But he essentially said, when we see Daredevil show up in the MCU, whenever that may be, you will see that it will be played by Charlie Cox. So Daredevil is entering the MCU. We've already talked about some spoiler images that hit the net a couple of weeks ago for an upcoming movie. You can infer that what you will. It's very much assumed that Daredevil will be playing a role in some of these upcoming Marvel properties that have already filmed. It seems very certain now that Charlie Cox is reprising his role as Matt Murdock. Are you happy for this, John? Are you happy that he's coming back? I mean, that they're plucking him from the Netflix series?
Yeah. I did a bunch of rewatches of a bunch of this Netflix stuff. Yeah. And Head and Shoulders, that first season of Daredevil is the best product that they had. I kind of chuckled when I saw the graphic of this news breaking, and it had Iron Fist on the very end, and I wanted to be like, no, not that guy. When they're doing a pan, and then you're like, oh, stop, go back. But yeah, I would find it. You know what? As much as I had fun with the other characters that played people, I look forward to actually a lot of those characters being recast. Upon rewatch of some of these things. But the Daredevil, I felt really worked. Maybe if you could keep the Daredevil core crew, the Foggy and Karen, those characters, maybe those three characters, I think would really be able to plop into whatever they're working on. But yeah, I think the fans demanded it. Let's see it roll. The other characters, I do feel that I'm in the mood for a recast for those guys. Even Punisher, which everybody really wants to happen. I don't know if you would be really upset if he does not return as Punisher. John Bernthal, I think his name is.
Bernthal. Yeah. So you know what? It's funny you mention that because I was thinking today, I was like, I didn't know how you were going to feel. I was plus either way. If they recast Daredevil, that's fine. We still had three decent seasons with Charlie Cox as Daredevil. The fact he's coming back is cool. I'm happy for that. But then Mike Coulter did fine as Luke Cage, but I think you could recast that. There was nothing special. Excuse me. Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. Again, she was okay, but I don't have any connection to Jessica Jones as a character, so it makes no difference to me. And obviously, I don't ever want to see that guy play Iron Fist, Finn, whatever his name. Finn Jones, thanks. Because I can't handle that. As with respect to Bernthal, I felt like there was a lot of promise of what his Punisher could be. But that series, both of those seasons, aside from maybe a handful of cool scenes spattered throughout the entire show, it was really kind of slow and dramatic. Like, he never really became the Punisher that we wanted, right? So, at least that I guess that I wanted. So, yeah, I'm fine with recasting him in the role, but that in season 2, that was the best version of the Punisher we got of Daredevil. Season 2, him versus Daredevil on that rooftop, like them fighting, like that was perfect. I wish they had used that version of Punisher and continued, but alas. Also, hey, listen, there's also another rumor, John, that there might be, Daredevil's co-star, Mr. Vincent D'Onofrio, might be showing up again in the near future, John, as Kingpin. So we shall see. Who else was Kingpin was tussled with, John, was Spider-Man. And speaking of Spider-Man, we got a couple of news that came out this week. First, we're going to hit the first look at the sequel to the animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That dropped on Saturday. Sony put out almost like a clip, about 2.5 minutes, like a scene from the movie, and then you see him flying through and meeting up with Spider-Man 2099 as they fall through the multiverse, or the whatever they're calling it, the Spider-Verse. However, it looks like part 1, they're calling it Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, drops October 2022, and then the third one will be the year after. John, did you see this 2.5 minute clip?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, it looks really cool. Did you see Into the Spider-Verse?
I have seen Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. Well, I did like it. I don't think I liked it as much as some other people liked it, but maybe I was
maybe you need a rewatch, John.
No, I saw it after. I didn't get to see it in theaters. I wanted to see it in theaters. Something happened and I couldn't do it. And then I watched it after. So I think the hype for it just elevated it so high that I was kind of like, oh, it's really good. But it wasn't as high as the hype level. But I do look forward to them doing more. I'm surprised they haven't done more faster. Like, you know what I mean? Like it did really well. They could have had a video game universe for it. They could have done all kinds of, like, they could have done TV show or whatever. But yeah, I'm glad that people are hyped for it. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, 2 more movies are coming out, John, so you can get on that hype train, buddy. And the last Spidey story I want to talk about is his inclusion with Fortnite, John. As for those who are unfamiliar, Fortnite ended their Chapter 2 saga Saturday afternoon with a live event that saw The Rock show up as a character called the Foundation. It was all the people were able to play. It was at 4:00 Eastern. You brought down the Queen, everything else happened, and then the entire game went silent and dark. They actually flipped the island, John. The island literally went up in the air and flipped. And now yes, you've got a whole new island, and it ended at about 4:10 or so, 4:15 on Saturday. Last time they did this, when they ended Chapter 1, it was offline for 3 days. This one was only offline for about 16 hours and coming back up on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Chapter 3 kicked off Season 1. And we have an inclusion of our famous webhead here. Spider-Man is showing up. He will be a playable character. You will also get the black skin Spider-Man, the black suit Spider-Man, as well as a skin of the white one, the Future Foundation Spider-Man. You also have the ability to do web swinging. Any character, if you get the special gauntlets, you can web swing throughout the course on the map. And they have the Daily Bugle has been included as well, John. So Spider-Man definitely plays a huge role in the Fortnite game. I'm not sure if you've logged in recently to see it or not, but I got to say it looks pretty cool. The island looks awesome, and there's been a lot of people seem to be really enjoying this new take on Fortnite. So hopefully people who are playing it are enjoying it.
I saw there was like a crazy countdown all over the screen and in the air, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And I think Lewis told me that everything got flipped and changed. So I haven't had a chance to log in, but looking forward to it. I did like that rope, that the plunger grappling gun that they dropped last. So if they're adding some more kind of swinging around action like that, that'll be interesting. I'm a little worried that the whole island has changed. I feel like I was just starting to get to know that other one, but
nope, it's gone.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. And that's it for the news, John. That's all I got, bud.
All right. Look at that, Rob. Some big hits, some Spider-Man related news that will lead us right into Spider-Man. So thanks everybody for sticking with us so far. If you're tuning in for the first time, we are live every Monday at 8:15 talking about movies and whatever that we love and you guys love. So let's talk about Spider-Man in the MCU, Rob. Unless we have anything else to cover before we do.
Nope, that's it. No,
let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. I got some stats on the first movie with Spider-Man Homecoming, but let's just do a refresher course, shall we? When last we were talking about Spider-Man, John, 2 weeks ago, we did the Sam Raimi trilogy. We revisited the Tobey Maguire Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. We then went into last week the Andrew Garfield duology. There's 2 movies, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Now we talked about last week how following Amazing Spider-Man 2, they had plans set up for a third movie to be released 2 years later, a fourth movie to be 2 years later after that, and a fifth movie again 2 years after that. What happened though is that the Sony hack, if we all remember the Sony hack that took place, a bunch of emails were leaked out, including one where Gwen Stacy, who perished in Amazing Spider-Man 2, is going to come back in Amazing Spider-Man 4 as Carnage, and Marvel said, okay,
4 or 3?
No, it's going to be number 4. She was going to be gone for 3 and then come back in 4 as Carnage. Marvel said that was leaked. The critical drubbing that Amazing Spider-Man 2 had, Sony was kind of like, can you help us, Marvel? And Feige was like, let us take back this character. That's where we get to Spider-Man proper, finally entering into the MCU. A deal was reached between Sony and Marvel. A bunch of money was exchanged. I believe that actually Disney decided to say, hey, we want to have the complete control. We want all residuals on merchandising. And we're going to give you like $175 million to be able to license our own character back into our universe, but it'll be a co-production, which may seem kind of crazy, but all that merchandise money is printed. It's like opening a Tim Hortons, John. It's printing gold. So that then they shoehorned that scene into, as you remember, Civil War. with that big scene at the airport where you first get to meet the MCU version of Spider-Man played by Tom Holland. And the first movie we got was Spider-Man Homecoming, released July 7th, 2017, directed by John Watts. A reported budget of $175 million, John. It brought in $880 million at the box office worldwide. Talked about the joint venture with Sony and Marvel. Tom Holland returned as Peter Parker Spider-Man. We got a brief glimpse of his version in Civil War, but enough to whet our appetites, John. We got enough. We're like, ooh, these pretzels are making me thirsty. I need to see some more of that. And we got
these
that movie.
Pretzels.
We got that movie.
Are making me thirsty.
That's right. Let me see. The movie stars Zendaya as MJ, Jacob Batalon as Ned, Michael Keaton, obviously as Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, and of course an independent actor, John, that hasn't really done a lot since then. You may or may not have heard of his name, Robert Downey Jr. He was also in this movie, reprising his role as Tony Stark / Iron Man. John, no surprise here. Movie is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a 92% critic score and an 87% audience score. John, this is Spider-Man Homecoming. What do you think?
So Spider-Man Homecoming. I thought this was going to be unanimously my choice for my favorite of all the Spider-Man films. But I don't know if you guys ruined it for me or not. A lot of you guys talking about Spider-Man as Tony Stark's ward and all that kind of stuff. It was really apparent on this rewatch, and I've watched this movie a couple times and enjoyed it, but for some reason this time it was kind of like, oh yeah, those guys are right. We don't quite get like a spider, like a true Spider-Man. It is Spider-Man set in this MCU frame, which, you know, it's okay. It's fine for what it is, but if you are a Spider-Man purist, and I guess at the end we'll go through our rankings of whatever the movies are and stuff like that, I totally understand where you're coming from. If for some reason you did not feel this movie or feel that it is not quite the Spider-Man that you would want it to be, but it is still a hell of a lot of fun. Tom Holland is really refreshing in it. The entire cast, and I guess I don't know if we want to summarize talk more about the cast when we get to the second movie, just how they interact and things like that. And I think a lot of them don't really shine, like Zendaya as MJ, which is like a drop at the end of the movie, right? Where you don't even know what she's called. MJ, and you're like, what's going on here? And then it kind of blew everybody up. She doesn't really kind of come into it until the second movie, so I'll kind of like leave her off the table. It's true because the first movie shows a lot of this. Yeah, she does a lot of really funny faces and some really she's a side character. She's not really a main cast. So at front and center is Michael Keaton and Tom Holland. And Michael Keaton, how in your days of your youth, Rob, the Spider-Man villains gallery, do you think anyone's favorite villain was ever the Vulture? And I wonder if you can briefly describe what the Vulture looks like in the comics. Yeah, so because I remember the Vulture, seeing him in the original like 60s Spider-Man cartoon. I'm not that old, but you would see that in reruns, right? But it was a green, like skin tight costume. He was an old guy. Like he was super skinny, not because he worked out, but because he was like probably suffering from malnutrition and just old age. He had to have hollow bones in order to fly. He was bald with like a beak nose. And so he had this green leotard on with a really like a white fluffy, like maybe it was taken from like an animal of something. Like he beat a rabbit and skinned it and put it around his neck or something, and then he had them around his ankles. And he had these like crazy wings that were just literally looped on his wrists. And that's what made him, he was the Vulture. And it was absolutely ridiculous. Like, his head looked like an egg. Like, if you ever said, hey, we're going to make that guy cool. And I can't imagine what they had to show Michael Keaton to make him like, they definitely couldn't have shown him pictures and throw in a bunch of Spider-Man, like that montage, you throw a bunch of Spider-Man comics on the table. Right. Like, this is the guy you're going to play. And think about his agent probably would have been like everything. Yeah, Michael. Yeah, okay. So they're gonna ask you to play this Vulture dude. I don't think it's a good idea. It's not a good look for you. But man, did they make him cool with the flight helmet, the really cool wing contraption, iron suit thing, and the cool flight jacket that had like the big furry collar that looked fire. Like, but it was so good on him. Like, when he was standing there with it on, it looked really, really good. Shout outs to Lewis here, who says he's read the Peter and Stark combination in the comic books, and it's not quite the same in this movie. And yeah, he's right. It in the comic books, it is an established Peter Parker, kind of coming under Tony's wing. This one, it's like almost like Iron Man has recruited Spider-Man from like his rookie year and molded him into the basically the next Iron Man, which we'll get into when we talk about the second movie. But I think it's still a really fun movie. Still lots of great characters. Still the rejigging of his mythos, his high school days was a lot of fun. So I can't really complain about this movie, but I will say it doesn't hit as hard as I thought it was going to hit. So Rob, you watched this semi recently? I don't know if you had a chance to rewatch it again before we did this.
I've watched it a lot. I've watched this movie a fair amount of times. So let me just tell you what the good stuff I like about this movie. First of all, I think Tom Holland does a great job. As Peter Parker, right? He's a teenage. He looks like a teenager. He doesn't look like a guy in his 20s or 30s playing a teenager.
He looks young. Yeah.
He looks phenomenal. Because he was when he was cast, right? He was still in his teens. I like his version of Spider-Man. The way he thinks, like I have to separate Spider-Man as the character, as opposed, with the suit, right? But I like his version of Spider-Man. Like when you're watching a lot of these scenes, I feel like it's being ripped right out of the Ditko run, right? When he's climbing up the tower and he jumps off and the wings come, the webbing comes off his. And he's over the helicopter and stuff. The fact that when he gets locked in the vault and he's sitting there and he's swinging around, like the stupidity that he's a rookie, he's learning. We don't get an origin story, which is great because we talked about this last week. We don't need another origin story. Just like Batman, we know what happens. Okay, move on. So he's trying to prove himself. The interaction with Ned was really great. His trying to navigate high school and do both things, I thought was really cool. I really, really love Michael Keaton in this. I got to tell you, I was in the theater when this came out. Like I'm probably sure all of us were. I don't know about your theaters, but when he goes and picks up that girl for the date, and they get, and the door opens, and it's Michael Keaton. Everybody in there was like, oh, like nobody expected that. Right? You
forgot it was coming. Basically, he gets the Spider-Man mantle taken away, and you're like, oh, now we're gonna enjoy teenage Peter Parker living out, arguably the best time of your high school life, prom and going out with your friends and doing all that. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, wait, this movie is a Spider-Man movie. He opens the door and Vulture is right there. And you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And the great thing about that villain is that he seems very, you have compassion for him because he's a business, like right when they open it, he's a business guy trying to put food on his table, and the rug gets pulled out from under him, and he kind of goes to the dark side. Maybe did he get a little greedy when you see his house and his like vintage Jaguar and all that kind of stuff? You're like, okay, maybe you went a little too far, but you kind of understand where he's coming from and how this could have happened.
But that scene of him and Peter when he's like, hey, just give me a second. Oh, Pete and I got to have a quick talk. The dad talk, and he turns around and he
grabs the gat. Where does he get it from? The glove box or whatever? And he just casually is just like, I'm like, these windows aren't tinted, by the way, so everyone can see you pulling a gun on Peter Parker, but whatever.
But honestly, he was just like, Michael Keaton has got such an intensity and a menace in him, in his eyes, even like he's just that it was freaky. So as much as I like a lot of this movie, it's then juxtaposed for me with what I don't like, and that is the reliance of and the presence of Tony Stark so heavily influencing this.
It's very present in the first movie for sure, 100%. Yeah,
it really bothered. Like I understand the idea that you need to go and you've just had this adventure with the Avengers. You're over in Germany. You want to, I get all that. And he's like, no, you're be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, not your Avenger. Like, that was cool. That was great.
That montage was great.
The problem, that him, vlogging his trip. But the problem I had, though, is that the suit is Stark tech. Like, and this is the one I've had with this Spider-Man throughout all of the movies, like his appearances in Endgame and this and that, even on the new ones. It's not a Spider-Man suit. Like, it's a Spider-Man suit as designed by Tony Stark. It's, when he's talking to the AI stuff, and then he go, you have, like, the death, he can kill people, like, the eyes go red. It makes for like some funny interrogation mode. It makes for some funny hijinks stuff. It changes his voice. But then if you really think about it, like, what, and maybe I'm not articulating myself, but what you see him doing as Spider-Man without the aid of his AI is the Spider-Man I want. I wanted. Okay. Right? Him jumping over the helicopter, him doing those things, anything that was not reliant on the technology, but reliant on his brain and his muscle to do things, right? And his agility, his spider powers. But when you started then introducing the technology to counterbalance some of that, or to as a crutch, to me, it really bothered me. And that's the one thing about these two movies that it goes right through, is that's the reliance on Tony Stark and his technology to power the suit is what really drives me kind of crazy.
Yeah. But we'll get more into it when the second movie hits.
Of course.
When the second movie hits, But I think this is the setting that this movie is in. This movie is in the MCU, so they figured out a way to get Spider-Man in there and become an integral part. So Gordon mentions that, do you think his SpiderSense went off in the car, or Sarah says the Peter tingle? I think the issue with this first movie was that they basically kiboshed his entire SpiderSense.
Yes.
It was non-existent in the character that we could tell. And if someone says it was in there, I don't know. I feel like that's a stretch. I think they purposefully kind of omitted it.
Yeah, I think they wanted that scene, I believe, in Endgame to really hit home, right? That's right. Infinity War, when he's on the bus and you see the hair on his arm go up. They really wanted that to be the real first sense of his Peter tingle.
Yeah. So the idea is, he's still he goes from rookie, recruited by Tony Stark, and he has become Tony Stark's protege, more or less. So was your favorite scene mentioned? Did you mention maybe is it the Michael Keaton Peter in the car scene, or one of the action scenes from this first movie?
I actually, it's funny because there are a handful of scenes that I would say that I really liked. I mentioned the car scene. I mentioned the opening of the door. I mentioned the climbing up the monument in Washington. I love that scene. But I gotta tell you, when he placed a tracker on the Shocker, which ends up being the Shocker, right? And he tracks those guys down, and then he's running through the backyards because there's no buildings.
Tribute, yeah.
There's a Ferris. You're like, oh my god, this is a wicked homage to Ferris Bueller, and then you see Ferris Bueller playing in the background on one of the TVs, and he's like, hey, great movie. I was like, man. Like, that was just so much fun. Like, that to me felt like a genuine Spider-Man moment. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I really liked that. I thought that was great. How about you, John? What were your favorite, what is your favorite scene?
I think it is that montage of him being the neighborhood Spider-Man when he's he's waiting for the Avengers to call him, and he's like, whose bike is this? Whose bike is this? And then he's like, I'm gonna write a note on it. It's like, don't steal me if this is your bike. And then he's like stopping a guy from stealing his car, but it turns out it is his car.
It is his car.
Oh. And he's like, oh yeah, the lady bought me a churro and stuff like that. Like I really did like that scene. And shout outs to is that the Cliff or Clem guy that is like, do a backflip from the bus in Shang-Chi? It's the same guy, right?
Might be, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the same guy. It's kind of funny that he gets to cameo in 2 movies. But yeah, I really like that montage, and just, him sit. Whenever you have Spider-Man with his mask pulled halfway up and him eating a pizza, I feel like that's a trademark New Yorker Spider-Man thing. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy it. There are, like I said, there are a lot of fun. The moment when he comes into his bedroom and he doesn't realize he crawls into the top, right? And he's crawling on the ceiling. And he's got a
bunk bed. He's got a bunk bed, but he's got no He's got no siblings, so it's kind of weird that he's got this bunk bed. But yeah, that scene is great. The fact that Ned finds out, and then he's got an actual ally or friend that helps him. Oh, Ned in the chair is a great scene as well.
The guy in the chair, you're the guy.
He's going back and forth between the two computers and looking up stuff. And I'm like, yeah, totally. I would have my friend on their cell phone going, hey, where's the light switch in this Audi, or where's the whatever, let me look that up. And he's pulling it up and he's doing it. I'm like, great. And then the punchline of he's looking at porn or whatever. Gord shuts out the scene where he's locked in the bunker, which is really good. He goes to the training program and it's like it's been like 20 minutes or something. He's like, what, seriously? You gotta get out of here. It's like
yeah, I liked oh crap! I just lost my train of thought of what I was going to say. No. Anyways, yeah, there was something. Oh, the principal in the school. I don't know if you recognize, but he was also one of the guys of the Howling Commandos the
Asian guy.
And so they actually had that was his grandfather. He had a photo of his grandfather on his desk in the principal's office. Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah, little Easter egg.
What about Hannibal Buress as the phys ed coach?
I was gonna say, who do you think is the most underutilized teacher? They have Hannibal Buress in this. They bring back the same teacher that I guess takes them on the field trip. The guy who's
Martin.
like, can't lose another student, not again, or whatever. And then they also have JB Smoove in the second one.
In the second one,
yeah. So it's like they have all these really funny guys. They were playing teachers, but they get very little screen time. I think they get a lot more screen time in the second one, but I would have liked to see Hannibal Buress is one of my favorite comedians in the game right now.
Yeah, he's really funny. I would have
liked to see if he was able to get a little more action in there. Is this the movie that has the end credit where it's Captain America and he's like waiting? Sometimes it doesn't pay off or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What did you think about this version of Flash Thompson? Because
I love him. He's
9 out of 10 versions of Flash Thompson. He's always the musclehead guy, the football, the quarterback, the guy who's, he's got the money and the bling, but he's good looking. He's got the money. And he's a sarcastic prick, but he's not the the athlete.
He's not the jock.
He's not the star. He's not the jock.
He's not the bodybuilder, which I think is a great flip of values now. Like that funny guy, social media or DJ or whatever, like popular guy is not necessarily going to be the jacked up, Flash looking dude or whatever you want to call it now.
Yeah.
So I like that. And then the whole Zendaya flip of that character is amazing, which really doesn't shine until the second movie, I think. But I do like the twisting of these characters.
So John,
or typical roles that you would,
So overall, are you happy with Homecoming? Like, as this being Spider-Man's first real movie, like entrance, I know we can say Civil War, but let's be honest, like this is his first real fleshed out entrance into the MCU. Were you happy with it? Even upon your rewatch of this?
Upon the rewatch, like I said, didn't hit as hard. The whole Tony Stark thing was very evident. Especially we're watching so many Spider-Man movies in a row that we kind of got used to, like a Spider-Man in his own
independent
universe. And now
independent Spider-Man.
He kind of gets slid in, side-loaded into this MCU. So it didn't hit quite as hard as I remember. And some of the jokes were not as similar to, like, I find that similar effect with Deadpool. Some of them are not as funny when you see them the second time. Like, like, what's up? And the kid's in there, he's like, chess. And then you're just like, I remember in the theater, that was hilarious.
Right.
On the rewatch, I was like, kind of like, whatever. keep it moving. But overall, I still enjoy this movie. I definitely will end up rewatching it again at some point. Spider-Man in the school, the
yellow
uniform.
school jacket.
That's still that was a Hot Toys figure, kind of hard to find now, and they did make an action figure of it. That is a great look for Spider-Man.
So then we're going to jump into Spider-Man Far From Home, John. That was released 2 years later, July 2nd, 2019. Once again, directed by John Watts, who, just as an aside, is obviously he's directed the new one. He's also in charge of the Fantastic Four coming into the MCU. So we'll see what Watts has to deliver there. But with No Way Home, the reported budget was $160 million, so just a bit more than Homecoming, and a box office gross, John, $1.31 billion.
Billion.
Movie takes place after the events of Endgame. So if you remember, Endgame came out in May, and then this movie kind of popped out. And this is the first movie to kind of really introduce, they called it the blip. And that idea has carried forward. They explained the 5-year time difference that we were all kind of left scratching our heads, wondering at the end of Endgame. Main stars return to the sequel, joined as well by Sam Jackson, reprising his Nick Fury role, sold as Colby Smulders, as Maria Hill.
Robin.
Yeah, and Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal as Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, also certified fresh with a Rotten Tomato score of 90%. Critics audience score at 95. And this movie kind of sort of introduces the idea of the multiverse into the MCU, even if it may have been a bit of a lark. It still got a lot of people like starting to shake their heads because that was the first time the 616 was introduced. So, John, Far From Home, are you a fan?
Far From Home, yeah. So this movie, like I said, I haven't watched it since it came out in theaters.
Wow.
For some reason, I found time to squeeze in Homecoming several times since, but this is my first rewatch of this movie. And I remember after that year or whatever that it came out, I don't know if this would have made my top 5 or whatever of that year, but upon rewatch, I quite enjoyed this. And this is where the setting, the whole he is the next Iron Man thing really starts to actually work for it. And so much so that later on when Happy's like, you know what, you'll never be another Tony Stark, you're something else. He's kind of put his belief into you. And when he goes to make the new Spider-Man suit, and Jon Favreau, Happy, is like watching him, and he kind of does the Iron Man thing. You're like, oh, you kind of get the feels at that point. You're like, oh, okay, now it kind of all makes sense, all this stuff they put into him, and now Spider-Man's going to get a chance to stand on his own. But shout outs to Stu, who got me pretty good on this one. So Jake Gyllenhaal plays Mysterio, and we kind of knew he was a villain, and we kind of knew it was a trick. But Stu planted in my head, he was like, oh, you know what? Marvel's shopping around for someone else to champion the MCU, so maybe it's going to be a double blind Jake Gyllenhaal. He's a big name dude. Maybe they want to bring him in, and they're doing this whole multiverse angle where he might be a good Mysterio from another multiverse. So I actually started to buy into the hype, and so much so that when Jake Gyllenhaal turns, and I'm sure you probably saw it coming, it still broke my heart. I was like, oh no, I actually thought he was going to be a good guy. So when he does the whole bar thing and it all kind of explodes, and he reveals that it was all like a crazy ruse, that was heartbreaking for me. But overall, as a movie, I really like it. I think we've said it several times on this show and the podcast, Zendaya's MJ, whatever, you can argue all day if it's Mary Jane or if it's not Mary Jane. The use of that character and the kind of change of this role to make her into this kooky, little bit off traditional, I guess, traditional pop values or whatever. And I love it because you know, as a girl dad, my daughter's a little on the weird side, so I find it cool that this type of character is now deemed as cool, like the person who's into dark conspiracy theories and making fun of people, is like, maybe not necessarily making fun of people, but into this other stuff. Like I really like that. So much, all this cast, the Ned character, everybody, even Marissa Tomei, we didn't talk about her really, but in the last movie, but even she, like everyone, even Jon Favreau was Happy. Like they all get a really good chance to shine here. So everyone, definitely shout out who you loved in the cast and maybe your scenes as Rob's talking, and we'll get to your thoughts and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, really love this movie. I think when we go to rank our Spider-Man movies, it's going to be a contender for the top spot. But Rob, how do you feel on No Way Home is this one called, right?
No, Far From Home.
Far From Home. Why do they have such confusing names?
Just to fuck with you, John. It's interesting because you're taking a character that is meant to be your friendly neighborhood character, and you're literally putting him as far away from his neighborhood that he could possibly be. So I thought that was a really interesting premise, right? It's a, sometimes when you see these comics and you're like, we've read lots of comics, John, Batman, all of a sudden appears in like Hong Kong or he's in Russia.
Yeah. Usually when they take them out of their environment, they're not as cool.
Right. And so I really liked the idea of how they made the senior class trip. It feels much more grandiose. It feels not as street level as the first movie. Even though the inclusion of Iron Man in the first movie, it still felt street level, which is perfect for this character. This felt like an epic because they were going all over the place and you're dealing with the elementals. When I first saw the movie, I remember being a little bit disappointed. Like, I liked it. I thought it was great, but I remember not liking it as much as Homecoming. I've rewatched this number of times as well. And I do quite enjoy it. It does hit for me a lot. You're right. It gets me in all the feels, when he is on the jet and he decides to make his own suit. The idea of he doesn't have a father figure, right? His parents are gone. His Uncle Ben is gone. They've still never mentioned Uncle Ben, by the way, in the MCU. His father figure becomes Tony Stark. Tony Stark's gone. The idea of this mantle, living in the shadow of somebody who you respect but have a personal connection to. We saw that in the end of Infinity War, where he was fighting to stay alive, and he was like, he didn't want to go, and he Stark's holding him, and he's like, I don't want to go, which is a ripoff of Doctor Who, but I digress. You get the feel like it's too much. He's a teenager. He can't be the next Iron Man. Nobody can be the next Iron Man, but he knew for sure it couldn't have been him. And he falls for, this other father figure, Quentin Beck. It felt a little forced. Like, the idea of that felt a little bit forced. Like, I didn't understand how Beck could have known to insert himself into that role. I thought it was a little bit bizarre, with Fury and Hill. But then the problem is, at the end, you don't really know, was it really them or were they the Skrulls that you're seeing, right? Like, I think
the idea is that they were the Skrulls the whole time. Yeah.
Which was really cool for us. We were like, oh my God, because this obviously follows the events of Captain Marvel. And so when you see the Skrulls again, and you see Fury up in the in the space station and in Tahiti taking a break, I thought that was great. The Spider Monkey stuff I thought was really funny. Like, there's probably more humor in this movie than there's not, and they really addressed that 5-year gap, especially that kid who grew up and all he wants to do is like hit on MJ.
What a dick!
Yeah, he was.
Why are you taking pictures of people in the bathroom? What's wrong? What's up with that?
Listen, I enjoyed this movie. I do enjoy it. When he does the Spider-Man stuff without the reliance on the technology, that's when I'm loving it the most. When he's relying on his technology based in the suit to do things, that's where it kind of it gets me a little bit. But I want to shout out, I don't know if you notice this or not. So in the movie, Peter Billingsley has been an actor who's been around for many, many years. He was Ralphie in A Christmas Story, which is one of my favorite movies, John. And he's a big fan, a friend of Jon Favreau, who put him in the original Iron Man in 2008. He played William Ginter Riva. He was one of the scientists, and then he's in this movie as well. So when Beck is hearkening back to all the things that Tony Stark did, because they're all pissed at Stark. These are all former employees. And you see that scene in Iron Man. That's because that was him, right? I mean, he shaved the top of his head, so he had the wraparound hair. But yeah, it was pretty cool to kind of see how they tied it back into their disdain for Tony Stark. But again, we're dealing with a reliance on Tony Stark as being a plot point.
Yeah. But I like the movie. They threaded it together. Like, they kind of like everything fell into place with this movie, him making his own suit, stepping into the role, and then that kind of stuff. I wanted to say before we get into our favorite scenes, because my favorite scene is gonna be the whole the first fight with Mysterio, when he really just brain F's Peter Parker. Shows him the grave, gets him hit by a bus at the end. Like, like as an illusionist, like that's a crazy set of events. So I was wondering, who would you find the most dangerous if they decide to take a turn into the supervillain realm? Would it be David Copperfield, David Blaine, Chris Angel, or Siegfried and Roy? Who would you be most scared of?
Well, right now I'd be scared of Siegfried and Roy because they're both no longer here, John. So if they came back in a magical, that zombie magicians would really upset me. I would go David Blaine because that guy's just crazy and he looks like he could just snap one day. Anybody who puts himself into a block of ice for like 12 days is terrifying. So I go David Blaine.
but his way of taking over the world would just be us watching him torture himself.
Yeah, but he does all that trick when he throws the cards against windows and it ends up on the other side.
Did David Copperfield not make the Statue of Liberty disappear?
Yes, he did.
One of his tricks. That sounds pretty dangerous. But what do you think is Mysterio like pulling that? Like I thought that was one of the best thought out kind of villain battles. Like if you're bringing to life Spider-Man villains, I don't think it gets much better than that Mysterio fight. We'll see in this next movie if anything can top that.
No, I agree with you, and this is where I said that this movie definitely feels a lot more grandiose. That first scene that you're referencing was trippy as all hell, but man, does Spider-Man just not look like that scene where he's got all those mirrors around him? You know what I'm saying? And he's in that suit. I was like, this is like the most Spider-Man, like on-screen version of Spider-Man we've ever. It looked great, and I was like, I was all for it. I thought it was terrifying. Peter was so messed up. He had no idea what was real, what wasn't anymore. He had him turned all upside down.
He was asking. He's like, Happy, tell me something that only you would know about me. Like how bad would and when they did the flip and then Fury comes down and he's like, oh man, we saved the day. Who else did you tell? And Spider-Man tells him, I'm like, no. I'm like, damn, he got super tricked.
Yeah.
Great use of that illusion power. Do you have any other scenes that you want to mention? I think Lewis mentioned the drone scene when the drones are coming after them. Yeah, that is a pretty good third act, I'd say, as far as third acts go. I don't think it really lost any of its momentum. Like it didn't rely on something cheesy happening or things like that.
Yeah, no, I thought that third act was really powerful. I mean, it looked great. Mm-hmm. I thought like that's the thing. Like, you know, this third act didn't devolve into just kind of silliness. As we've seen in some of these other movies we watched. So I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it looked great. It was a plan that was executed well. I mean, like Spider-Man's plan. Yeah, you know, I loved the teachers, you know, like we talked about before, Martin Starr trying to take the photo.
It's witchcraft or something. It's witches. There's witches over there.
You know, all that stuff. Like it was just when Ned and what's her face? I can't remember. Like, you know, they get stuck on the plane. Yeah. On the plane going, and Ned's talking all about right before they travel. It's like, you know, we're gonna be meeting girls. You can't be tied down to one girl, Peter. Like you have to.
I think it was like International Bachelors or something was his catchphrase.
Yeah, and then like they get off the plane, and all of a sudden him and this girl, they're like love you, like, and it's like we're together now. And Peter's like, what happened? Like to me, it was just like that stuff was just hilarious, right? And then at the end, they break up, and it's like, we've grown as people, Peter. It's fine. Like, you know, that stuff. I thought it was really funny. So there are a lot of comedic moments in this. I don't know which was my favorite scene. I definitely would probably say the first battle. I just think that was the most Spider-Man look that I've ever seen brought to life, quote unquote. Even though a lot of it was CGI, I just thought it looked great. I thought it was just fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, can't go wrong. I think overall this movie just.
But what we got to talk about the big reveal at the end, John. The end, the mid-credit scene when, you know, they get back. I think it was the Ramones do the end song, right? and then all, you know, him and MJ are swinging through. She knows he's Peter Parker because, you know, that and the way that they found that. she kind of tricked him into telling, and because she wasn't really sure, she's like,
I thought that was great. Yeah, yeah. Anyone can tell if they watch you, and then she's like, but I'm the only. I think she's like, but nobody watches what you're doing, and he's like, oh, and then she's like, except for me, and he's like, oh, thanks. It was such a great moment.
Wait, so you're so I was right, because I was only like 60% sure.
That's initially on the bridge, and it's just really great. Yeah, she's like, you're Spider-Man, and then he's like, what? He's like totally off guard, and then he's sweating.
But yeah, that scene where they're swinging at the end, and then all of a sudden you see J.K. Simmons reprising his role as J. Jonah Jameson from the Raimi trilogy on TV, talking about that menace Spider-Man, and it's the video that Quentin Beck secretly had recorded showing Peter. He ousts Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
What a jerk!
I remember being there. Everybody was like, "What?" Like
that was a crazy ending. Yeah, it almost like you wish you left the theater before they dropped that bomb, because you would have been able to enjoy not having to worry about the next one coming up. But as soon as that scene came on, you're like, when's the next one? And then Sony did that whole fake. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was a publicity stunt, but the whole thing that, third movie's not going to happen type thing. And I was like, oh man, I better buy it. They better sell edited copies of Spider-Man that cuts out that scene or something,
But so here's my question though, John, and the people in the chat, I would love to get your opinion on this. That scene was so like jaw-dropping, like that was a punch to the gut. Did it overshadow the movie? Because when you walk out of that movie, people weren't talking about the movie. They were talking about that scene. When you went and listened to podcasts afterwards or anything else, everybody was talking about that scene and then the movie. Do you think that was just...
I think it 100% did, because it did for me. Like I didn't rewatch this movie because of that bombshell that you have to be waiting for the next movie. So that's why I dislike when movies drop on a hard cliffhanger, because then you don't have kind of like fond memories. You're just like, oh, when's the next one so I can continue the story, and you immediately forget about all that great stuff that happened before. So I think 100% for me, at least it did. I'm pretty sure it took away a lot of the the talk of other things that were going on in that movie for sure. Okay. And there was so much other great stuff that happened in that movie, like the new Venom movie. They dropped a big thing at the end. That's all
that tied into that.
That's all the news stuff that gets clicked for that. But lucky for them, the overall movie wasn't super fantastic, so it worked out for them. But in the case of this movie, they definitely could have rested on their laurels a little bit and saved this story plot element. And do you remember how mad people were getting when they thought that this third movie wasn't going to happen? When they were like, whatever has come to an issue, and there's not going to be a third. People were outraged.
People were pissed. People were raging hard. Oh yeah, for sure. I think we might have been. I mean, I'm sure some of us were like, it's a ploy, it's a money grab by Sony or whatever. But yeah, I mean, people were really irritated about it, right? So
people were like messaging me and like that, and I was like, no way that I think this is all publicity stunt. No way that you set the end of that movie up for that, and you don't have the next movie ironed out and set up. But Rob, where would you rank? Do you want to rank the entire universe, or just movies individually, or do we have to wait for the third movie to come out before we can really determine that? Maybe we can at least ask what your favorite of all the Spider-Man movies we watched was.
Oh, my!
Would you still go back to
favorite?
Yeah, would you still go back to Raimi? I'll throw out a semi-hot take. I still think I like Spider-Man 1.
You like Spider-Man 1 the most.
The Tobey Maguire as a Spider-Man, like as a dedicated Spider-Man film. This second one, what is it? Homecoming? Far From Home? No Way Home. Far From Home.
Damn because he's away.
Names for your movie.
He's literally not at home. He's far from home.
Spider-Man, I'm on a trip to Europe. I'll call it that.
Spider-Man senior trip.
I think this is going to be in contention for my most entertaining. The movie that I'm going to watch again. But I will say maybe the best representation of Spider-Man is his cameo in Civil War, So that's before we get thinking that he's an Iron Man protege. That's when we think he's just a Spider-Man that's been suddenly recruited into the Avengers.
Yeah.
So that, if you rewatch that, I think that is a pretty strong piece on its own, because you don't get any hints of Iron Man made his suit. Iron Man's mentoring him. He's going to be the next, that type of thing. You just think that he's being this guy recruited from Brooklyn or Queens, or I think he has a whole fight with Steve Rogers and like, where's he from or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you just think he's a kid that's been added to the Avengers roster. So I don't know, Rob, what do you think? What's your go-to Spider-Man then? I like Spider-Man Euro Trip. That's a good one. Lewis.
Yeah.
So Lewis is going to throw Into the Spider-Verse in there. I don't know if you want to add that to your considerations.
No, I actually, so that was a movie, before I answer, that was a movie, Into the Spider-Verse, where I really didn't care if I wanted to see that or not. I was kind of dreading it. I thought it looked horrible. It came out over the holidays of 2018, I think it was. Going into 2019, and I took my son, he and I went and saw it, and I loved that movie in the theater. Like I as soon as it dropped on Blu-ray, I grabbed it. I even sent a copy to my nephew because they had been kind of watching it when they were here for a visit over the holidays once. So I sent them a copy. Like, I love that movie. But if we're talking about the live action interpretations that we've seen so far, I think it's hard to say, because I think by default, because he's so intertwined with these MCU movies, I'd probably be watching Homecoming more than any of the other ones, only because Michael Keaton is just so menacing. Like, I just love watching the Keaton scenes. Like, I can just chew it up, right? I love it. I really like Spider-Man 2. Out of the bat, for me, I like that a bit better than the Raimi ones. Although I agree, Spider-Man 1 is, like, 1 and 2 are so close for me. Like, they're interchangeable. I think, though, like, and maybe it's just because of what's going on with MCU stuff right now, if I was ever to throw in a Spider-Man movie, it would probably be Homecoming or Far From Home. So
okay, so I'm actually surprised. I thought you were going to go old school. I think, on the rewatch, it's 100% going to be Spider-Man Euro Trip. So maybe I've seen Homecoming too many times because the jokes just don't hit.
Yep.
It is hard for me. And I like the component of adding his team of Ned and Zendaya and stuff like. And they even have that moment where it's like almost like Chandler and Monica from Friends, where it's like, it's like, but Ross doesn't know, so you can't say anything.
That's right.
It's a really funny moment that they had there.
Shit, I was going to say something else about it, and I can't remember what it is.
Fraser said,
I was going to
amazing.
No, that's what I was going to quickly say, though. The one thing I loved that they did is they were able to address the eyes, right, using the as a focus to allow the eyes to be wide or smaller and stuff like that. Like, I thought that was really cool what they designed.
Is this the first movie to use that of the Spider-Man movies?
Yeah,
I think so, right?
because they're just solid pieces with the white. Like, they didn't move the eyes.
So the addition of that makes this a lot more Spider-Man. Did Deadpool come out before this, or because Deadpool's eyes have got like a similar expression going on? But in the comic books, when you see Spider-Man, you will usually see his eyes doing all kinds of funky things to convey that what's going on, confused, angry, whatever, that type of stuff. So Gord shouts out best costume change. Yep. I think he got to wear a bunch of costumes in this movie. He got to wear the Iron Spider and then go back to a classic, and then he got the brand new one, and he got the night monkey or whatever you call it.
Right.
Shout outs to those scenes. Lewis says he likes Spider-Man 2 and Homecoming, so those, I guess that's a tie for his go-to.
You know what the thing about Homecoming was? It made it feel kind of like, if you were a fan of the John Hughes movies from the 80s, it had that tone. I mean, obviously we mentioned the Ferris Bueller because that is a John Hughes movie, but it did have that high school.
Tone, when he asked, I forgot what her name is. When he finally asked her to the prom,
I can't remember.
It was a really cool moment where he's like, have you gotten it? And she's like, I've been so busy playing Homecoming. That's straight scene out of a teen romance.
Carrying the one key with a great big giant square.
He's got a hall pass. He's got a hall pass, and he's like, he's shorter than her and all that. It's very like high school memories thing. So it was a really good moment. I can't remember what that girl's name was, but or which character she played. I wonder if she'll come back again. But it's Yeah, a lot of great moments in both movies. So yeah, I think they're definitely both worth a watch. Definitely going to be rewatching them.
Now, do you think though that people need to rewatch these? If they haven't rewatched them, should they be rewatching them getting into No Way Home? Or do you think that you could probably just jump into No Way Home without this? Like, I mean, if it's been a long time, because the assumption is you've seen these two movies. I can't imagine anybody's going to No Way Home and that's their first Spider-Man movie they've ever seen.
I think right? If you're pressed for time, basically like exactly what you said, that cliffhanger of Spider-Man's identity being revealed is still stuck in your mind anyways. So I think you're going to be able to jump directly into this new one. And all these cameos, if you know who they are, it's going to be great. If not, I kind of have a little faith that they're going to be able to make it entertaining. If not, it is going to be a disaster. If they all show up and you're like, hey, people who haven't seen these other movies aren't going to give a crap about all these guys that show up. But they look different enough. Like they released those 3 new posters. I think we posted them up on one of our Facebook feeds or whatever. All the characters look pretty dangerous. And then if these Spider-Mans come back, it still hasn't been officially confirmed. A lot of people dropping their names on the IMDb and on movie ticket sale listings and stuff like that. But who knows? We could be getting tricked.
Supposedly there's a new trailer coming out on the 15th of December. Why they would do that a week before release is beyond, or 2 days before release rather, beyond.
I stand by my stance that they didn't need to show us anything, and this would have sold like crazy regardless.
Now the question then becomes, John, is Tom Holland your favorite Peter Parker / Spider-Man? Or do you prefer Andrew Garfield? Or do you prefer Tobey Maguire? Or do you prefer the 1970s Nicholas Hammond? Who is this the best on-screen representation of Spider-Man, Peter Parker?
I think even though he doesn't necessarily do the Spider-Man 100% true to the comics, and like we mentioned, the whole MCU tie-ins, Tony Stark, yada yada yada. Yep. I think this guy Tom Holland plays the best version of Spider-Man we've seen. The voice he's got. The look is kind of physicality. I have seen him doing like real life backflips and all kinds of gymnastic stuff. So he's doing some of the stuff. We may never know exactly which parts are his and which parts are CG and stuff like that. But I think he's one of the best representations. And he's just, if you ever watch him in interviews and stuff, he just seems like a genuinely nice kid. I keep calling him a kid because he just looks like a kid.
Yep.
So yeah, I think for me, I think even though Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is a little more true to the comic book one, I think this one, if he was given that comic book material, he could have pulled that off as well.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. I really like Tom Holland in this. I feel like he takes almost the best parts of Maguire and Garfield and kind of adds his own little flair to it. So I think for me, he's probably my favorite. But that being said, this reliance on Stark technology, Spider-Man shouldn't be pressing a button in his mask.
I think they've set it up. I think they've done it
off, right?
I think they've done all the groundwork that sets him up as the next Iron Man, kind of. So I think that's where he fits in this particular MCU, and rightly so. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. was the center of this universe.
Well, we know we're getting
if
3
they
more
want
movies,
Spider-Man,
right?
if they want Spider-Man to take that spot, he comes from Tony Stark's shadow, unfortunately, in this version. So, and I think they did position him well. Yeah. That it works. Like that scene, putting together the army, 100%. Rob, who is your favorite villain of all these Spider-Man movies?
Of all of them?
Yeah, let's throw all of them on the table. Everybody in the chat, let us know who is your all-time favorite. So Michael Keaton defeats William Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Yeah, you want to know again because Willem Dafoe. Listen, I loved as a villain Michael Keaton. Willem Dafoe's portrayal was so over the top. Like he was so like outside the realm of
don't forget the
reality.
Lizard is available. The Lizard is available.
Yeah, nope. I don't know what you're talking about. I loved Willem Dafoe's. Like he was crazy, but he was way over the top. But Michael Keaton was just so like he was a true that's what I said. That door opens and you are shocked. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't get that with Willem Dafoe. You wouldn't have that and that intensity of that car scene, the conversation. So hands down,
Yeah,
Michael
even towards the end where he's like making that last ditch effort to get the tech because he needs it. He needs it to keep all this stuff he's got in the air up, right? All these things he's juggling, he needs that. So his desperation and him wanting to do it, I think he gets the most exploration into his motivation. Like Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, is a great villain, but you kind of see where he's coming from, but I feel like it doesn't hit as hard as Keaton's set up as, this business guy who's just trying to put food on the table for his family.
Okay, so who's the worst? Wait, who would you go with? Sorry, who's your answer?
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think Michael Keaton just kills it as a Vulture. Although I really look forward to William Dafoe.
So do I.
I don't know if you would call it hamming it up or just going crazy in whatever this. I think he is probably going to steal the show in the new movie. If we were going to put hedge bets on who's really going to like shine in the new movie, I feel like it's going to be him. But Vulture for sure. I think would be my top villain. The worst, I don't know. I think it's got to be that lizard from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like I can't even give it to like Jamie Foxx as Electro is pretty.
Well, wait. What about Venom? What about Topher Grace's Venom?
Oh shoot, I forgot about Topher Grace
and Sandman.
Okay,
he got done dirty. No pun intended.
Okay, Sandman at least he had somewhat of a justification. Weird looking green striped shirts aside.
God, please, I don't ask for much, but please kill Peter Parker.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think Topher Grace as Venom, and as well as combined with the disappointment of that version of Venom, I feel like he does take the cake. I think you're right. Anyone in the comments, let us know. Some people are saying Rhino.
But we didn't really get to see him as Rhino, though. He was only in Rhino for maybe 90 seconds at the end. And then at the beginning, he was driving a truck. Like, you don't really get to see him as a proper villain. That's why I didn't choose him. Although the costume, the outfit of the Rhino was atrocious. But I think the worst villain has got to be Topher Grace.
And it's not necessarily it's the way they wrote him in. He was definitely feels like shoehorned in. Like just the stuff he did was like really ridiculous. Right. I think Lewis shouts out Molina as Doc Ock as best villain. I don't think he would argue that is the worst. But he says Keaton as Vulture is top. Yeah, I think he's right. It does come down to that.
But Electro is really bad too, dude. Electro, like the Jamie Foxx version of Electro, is really bad. So I'm looking to see how they reincorporate him in this.
I hope they give him like Jamie Foxx. I think is very talented, so I feel like if they give him something better to work with. Vulture is number one. Lizard comes in second. So Frazier was a fan of Lizard. He was saying last episode. So I got to respect that. Lewis agrees. Horrible Venom. Gordon agrees. Topher sucks. Yep. Should have tapped him to play Why the Last Man back then. And then maybe we would have had a longer showing of that show.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining John and I as we've been the last 3 weeks been diving into the wonderful web of the Spider-Men in their different interpretations on the silver screen. I hope you guys have had as much fun as we have had revisiting this. John, we got 2 shows left until the big day arrives. We know what we're doing for the show on the 20th, bit of a festive themed show that day. But next week on the 13th, John, we are still kind of without an idea, although I did throw out Fat Man starring.
No, not going to happen. Sorry, Rob. I entertained your nonsense when we went through a couple other movies, but I'm not entertaining it for the Fat Man. Rob mentioned to me that there was a new Mariah Carey special on Apple TV. I'm definitely putting that on the table. I don't know if I'm
gone. It. Yes, when I'm gone. When I'm on vacation, you are more than welcome to use it then. So definitely tune into our social medias. We will announce what we'll be doing next week. But definitely the 20th, we'll be talking about John, are we still? We're good to announce what we're doing on the 20th?
20th. What's the 20th? Oh, 20th is right. Yeah, 20th. Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about. We're just chatting with everybody. We're not going to have a plan thing. We're just going to say, hey, we want to talk with you guys. it's Christmas, it's the holidays. What are your favorite movies? What are your, let's talk about all the movies. You guys throw out movies, and I'm sure John and I have seen them. If not, for sure I've seen them. I know John doesn't watch anything. And we can talk about your favorite scenes of things and random stuff. And, what doesn't make a difference what movie it is or what TV show.
Maybe we'll talk about the holiday armadillo. And maybe Superman and Santa Claus together.
That's right. So, we're just going to have a lot of fun as we kind of wind down this year and talk about the holidays and the traditions that, that we look forward to in the movies that we throw on every year, the same, handful of movies. So definitely that's going to be on the 20th. For next week, the 13th. We're still without an idea. Although John and I have been cooking up a couple of things, so we'll definitely let you know. So keep your eyes peeled to our social media channels, and we'll announce it the next day or so. But aside from that, John, anything else, bud?
No, nothing. Thank you. Thank
you,
Mr. Rob, for putting in all the work. I was along for the ride. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the chat. Very good to see everybody in there. It's always
really
fun.
Appreciate it.
To another great Spider-Man, and we're going to go see the movie. When is it? Next week?
It's next week. Next Friday.
I don't know what week it is.
It's not this week. It's next week. Yeah, next Friday, John. You're going, I think, on the Sunday. You said.
I think so. Yeah, I'm going a day. One of the days I managed to score some tickets. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully, cross our fingers. No snowstorms preventing us from making it anywhere.
Yeah. So aside from that, everybody be safe. We hope you enjoy your week. It's the countdown's on. You got a couple more weeks until the holidays, so get out there, do your shopping. Hit up Heroes World at Warden and Highway 7 for all your awesome, cool, geeky needs, whether it's board games, comics, figurines, statues, model kits, or if you just want to hear John and Andre, maybe they'll sing a song for you. John definitely will hit a Mariah Carey note for you. If you
I don't know about that.
Yeah. But thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. And enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Are you hitting end? Am I hitting end?
You can hit the end.
Who's hitting end?
By the way, I heard you fart on camera. That was really really?
Awkward. I farted?
I heard that.
I just killed a fly that just like...
Yeah, because your fart was horrible.
Your fart was so atrocious.